There was a moment when she was just a name, a whisper behind a smirk, a Padawan sent into battle before the galaxy knew her voice. But beneath the armor, beneath the jokes, beneath the titles, there was something rare, something real, something the Force itself seemed to pause for. She was shaped in the fire of war, but not consumed by it. Trained by a man destined to fall, yet she never let the darkness stain her spirit. She questioned orders when others obeyed. She walked away when others stayed. And in doing so, she found something stronger than loyalty. She found herself. Her path was never straight. It curved through betrayal and silence. It dipped into sorrow and doubt. She stood on bridges that crumbled beneath her and kept walking. Not because she was fearless, but because she feared what would happen if she didn't keep going. That kind of courage doesn't come from titles. It comes from truth. Others lost themselves in power, in prophecy, in pride. But she stood beside people, not above them. She listened when no one else did. She offered kindness in places where survival meant shutting your heart. She chose feeling over control, and that made her dangerous. Not to the enemy, but to the system. There is something sacred in her silence, in the way she carries pain without letting it define her, in the way she speaks with her eyes, moves with purpose, and forgives without forgetting. She is not the loudest voice in the room, but she is the one that echoes longest, because she speaks from something deeper, from empathy. In this video, we explore why Ahsoka Tano is the true heart of Star Wars, why her evolution from apprentice to exile to savior defines more than just a character arc, why her journey captures what the Jedi lost, what the galaxy needed, and what hope truly looks like. This is not just her story. This is a tribute to everything she represents. She was never meant to change everything. She arrived in the middle of war, small but sharp, untested but unafraid. A young voice among giants, a spark dropped into the fire. No prophecy, no legend, just a Padawan with too much to learn and not enough time to learn it. The galaxy didn't expect her. Even the audience didn't embrace her at first. Too bold, too brash, too loud in a world full of order. But maybe that's what Star Wars needed. A disruptor, a soul that asked questions when silence had become tradition. She looked up to Anakin Skywalker, not with AEW, but with curiosity. She saw his flaws before others did, and followed him not blindly, but bravely. She was never there to mirror him. She was there to test him, to show him what trust, growth, and love actually looked like. Every mission shaped her. Every scar added meaning. But it was never just about survival. It was about identity. Finding who she was in the shadows of others. Learning that being part of something didn't mean losing who you are. And as the Clone Wars raged, she began to matter. Not because she was powerful, but because she was present. Because she saw people as people, not tools, not roles, not ranks. Because she cared. And in a galaxy where hope was dying, that made her different. She gave everything to the Jedi. Her loyalty, her time, her heart. She followed their rules, even when they contradicted themselves. She trusted their teachings, even when her gut screamed otherwise. And when it mattered most, they left her alone. The bombing of the temple changed everything. Not because of guilt, but because of betrayal. They doubted her, treated her like a threat instead of a student, like a weapon instead of a person. They turned a courtroom into a prison and called it justice. Anakin believed in her, but belief wasn't enough. The system broke her spirit. The Order tried to make it right. Tried to act as if nothing happened. But some wounds don't close just because someone says sorry. Some betrayals burn too deep. She walked away with her head held high. Not out of anger, but clarity. She realized that faith built on control was never faith at all. That the Jedi, for all their wisdom, had lost their way. And she refused to lose herself in the process. That decision was her rebirth. She became more than a title. More than a Padawan. She became free. And freedom, in a galaxy consumed by orders and chains, was the rarest thing of all. She survived the purge, not because she was lucky, but because she had already let go. She was not hunted like the rest, because she was not one of them. Not anymore. Yet the pain of loss still followed her. Still whispered in every silence she carried. She felt every death like a tremor. She knew the clones not as tools, but as brothers. She saw their faces when the dust settled. Saw what the war did to those who never had a choice. And she carried their names like scars beneath her calm. The galaxy moved on while she wandered. No master, no council, no cause. Just fragments of a life that once felt whole. She became a ghost of the war. A quiet flame walking among ruins. Not forgotten, but unseen. And through it all, she never lost her heart. Even when it hurt to remember. Even when it felt easier to forget. She held on to her truth. Not as armor, but as promise. To be better. To do better. Even if she had to do it alone. She saw what others couldn't. not because she was stronger, but because she never stopped feeling, she never stopped caring, and in a galaxy drowning in silence that made her louder than any army. In time she rose again, not with fire, but with purpose. Ahsoka became legend without seeking glory. She moved through shadows, but her presence lit the way. People followed, not because she commanded, but because she understood. She faced Vader not as a warrior, but as a friend. She stood before the monster her master became, and refused to run. She didn't try to save him with a blade. She tried with her words, with memory, with pain, and for a moment the mask cracked. In Rebels, she became something more. A mentor to Ezra, a guide through chaos, a protector of ancient truths. She danced on the edge of time itself, and came back wiser, not older, but deeper. Not perfect, but present. She wore white, like peace incarnate, not untouched by war, but defined by what she chose not to become. She never claimed a side. She claimed people lives that mattered, voices that deserved more. Ahsoka fought for the soul, not the symbol. And as she stepped into her own series, we saw her still carrying the past, still searching for clarity, still learning what it meant to lead without losing herself. And in that journey, she reminded us that strength is not in power, it's in persistence. Ahsoka Tano is the proof that you can walk away and still be whole, that leaving what breaks you does not make you weak, it makes you brave. She is the embodiment of a lesson the Jedi never taught, that love without attachment is possible, that empathy is strength. She never stopped believing in the good, even when the galaxy gave her every reason to fall. She stood beside rebels, beside refugees, beside the forgotten. She became a thread of hope woven through every generation. She never asked to be the heart of the story, but the story found her anyway. She brought the Force back to people who had lost it. She reminded Jedi what it meant to care. She made clones feel human again. She healed wounds without pretending they never happened. She acknowledged pain and kept going. That is what makes her powerful. She doesn't wear robes or sit on thrones. She doesn't speak in riddles or hide behind prophecy. She walks beside others, listens when others speak, and acts when no one else will. Not for glory, but for peace, for people, for purpose. And that is why she matters. Not because she changed fate, but because she chose to feel it all, to face it all, and still stand tall. Ahsoka Tano is not a legend because of power. She is a legend because of compassion. Ahsoka is more than a character. She is the soul of Star Wars when all the noise fades. She carries the burden of war, the betrayal of trust, and the weight of memory. And somehow, she never lets it destroy her. She learns, she grows, she endures. She was not born with legacy. She earned it through pain and persistence. She didn't rise because someone told her to. She rose because she chose to. Because the galaxy needed someone who wouldn't break under the same mistakes that broke so many before her. Her story isn't clean. It isn't tied in bows or wrapped in destiny. It is messy, human, layered. A tapestry of quiet choices that echo louder than any prophecy. And in that, she became timeless. A bridge between the old ways and something new. She doesn't need a throne to be important. She doesn't need a prophecy to be chosen. She became what others couldn't be, because she saw what they couldn't see. That love is not weakness. That leaving is not failure. That surviving is not the same as living. And so Ahsoka stands. Not as a Jedi, not as a warrior, but as something more. Something the galaxy forgot it needed. A heart that beats, not for power or order, but for people, for peace, for purpose, for hope.